there's an interesting statistic that I ran across in doing the strategic plan of this, and it's that people are more likely to choose a job in a location if that location has strong culture, like, so a strong cultural presence. So it's more attractive. So it's making your communities more attractive. It's making them more vibrant. It's making them more interesting places to live. And isn't that all what we want, right?
You're listening to the Behind the Village podcast. Our guest today is Anitta Hamming from North Simcoe Arts. I think one of the first things that I would like to ask you is because we know you as the creative nomad, owner, right? So how come you are here talking to us about North Simcoe Arts?
I know. It's so weird. I think it kind of this is what happened when I moved to Aurelia. In my previous life,
Hmm.
I was doing business development and I'm a business coach. And so this is kind of my background. But then when I came to Aurelia, I had put a pause on that life, so to speak. And I came here and was doing what is my other passion, which is art. And I'm an artist. So that is a piece of what I am as well. And so when I came into Aurelia, Aurelia got introduced to me as an artist. And then I was trying to figure out what it was my life going to be like in Aurelia. And I took a beat on that and wandered around and created the concept of Creative Nomad Studios and then developed that, got the space, did the renovation, did all of those things. And in all of the connections that I have through Creative Nomad Studios, there were some people who knew, of course, what my background is and who I also am. And was speaking to, Christine, who used to be on the board, and they had gotten a grant for doing, um, the financial strategy of North Simcoe Arts,
Hmm.
and or it was ODAC at the time, and part of the issue with that and her and I had been speaking, and I said, "Well, let me look at it." She said, "Well, I'm not quite sure how to get there, not quite sure, who can do this." She was kind of on her way out of the board, she was moving, and I took a look. I said, "Well, hand it over to me. Don't let me look at it, and let me see what needs to be done or how to do it." And when I looked at the grant, um, it was a grant that was for building a piece of ODAC, but it would be based on something that didn't yet exist, which was the strategic plan. So, in order to build your financial strategy, you really do need to have a strategic plan because what are you building your financial strategy on? And I went to the board and said, "Hey, here's where, let me explain this grant to you," because there was now a new board. And said, "Here's where you're at. You have this grant, and you can either go by, you have 3 options." Number 1, the grant's not quite enough money to do both pieces, um, and either we go back and we say, "We're gonna ask to change the outcome of the grant money and move it to financial strat or to do me move it to strategic plan," or um, we give the money back because we can't achieve this piece without this piece.
Mm.
Or the other proposal was, um, I take my skill set, which is actually to build strategic plans and build the strategic plan and then build the financial strategy as part of the grant money. Um, and basically do it for the limited amount of funds that they had in place and really started to look at, and that's how I became involved, was taking my expertise and doing partially volunteer, partially, partially not volunteer position, was to really look at um, the Aurelia District Arts Council and to say, where did they want to go and how does this go? and then started to do all the process of strategic planning. There already is a South Simcoe Arts Council that serves sort of Barrie and Central. There is a arts council that serves Collingwood and that region over there. There's nothing that serves this band in the middle from Rama all the way across Coldwater, Aurelia, Coldwater, Midland, Penetanguishene. There's no council, and it made the most sense when I looked at the data and the research to say that this region, pulling this region together culturally, there's a big benefit to doing that and to really have that be a focus. So almost falling completely in line with the North Simcoe Valley region, um, is to sort of come back in there. So that's why North Simcoe Arts, and that's why me.
Yeah, that's how you ended up here.
So I that's how it became, and the name changed as well because it made sense for the name to change.
Mhm.
And to speak more broadly, and also to move away from acronyms. I'm a firm believer in um, that acronyms make sense when you already understand and know what it is, but it doesn't make sense when you don't. So ODAC became the term, but if you don't know what ODAC is, it's not clear in the acronym that it is an arts council
Mhm.
or that it's functioning or should be functioning as an arts council. So North Simcoe Arts was really moving to something that could be North Simcoe or Simcoe Arts, and people could keep the arts in the name and not make it an acronym. So we're really pushing for that. It's kind of like though, it's like when you have a child and their name could be a nickname, and as a parent, you have to keep correcting people.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
So that's
eventually
where
you
we're
was
at
you
right
made the kid
now.
to know the actual name, right? Like instead of just like the you know, the
Yeah.
short
So
form.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. I had a question because you talked about arts councils, and so I guess that kind of leads into our next topic that we wanted to touch on. But what is, I guess, the function of an arts council? What do they typically do in terms of that umbrella that you mentioned? And then linked to that being North Simcoe Arts, what is, I guess, that future or that plan for North Simcoe Arts in terms of that umbrella?
Right. So an arts council typically would advocate for arts and culture within a region. So in this case, it would be North Central Arts. And then basically, it would be the organization that other organizations could go to, could rely on, could use as a central promoter, as a so an arts council would be have its hand in all the cultural centers of any, say, city council or any. So we have a cultural um, department in the, it's actually part of our economic development in Aurelia. So North Simcoe Arts is connected to that. It has an interest in building relationships across communities. So one of the things that North Simcoe Arts did as step number one was to build um, a series of cultural roundtables where where we invite people, leaders from other organizations, from other groups, so theater and arts and music and all of the arts disciplines and photography, but the people who are leading those groups, as well as municipal cultural leaders, to a room and to say, this is what we're working on, this is what we're collaborating on. Because if I am running a theater program in Midland, it is amazing to be connected to a theater program in Rama or in and to meet those other leaders. If I am running a visual arts um, show in Aurelia, in I can be connected to the people and the organizations in Penetanguishene that are also part of visual arts. It expands possibilities within a region. It expands ideas for arts and culture tourism to happen in a region. So also what the council is connected to are the RTO7, so Lake Country Tourism and the Regional Tourism Board, because cultural tourism is one of the biggest financial benefits to a community.
Mm.
And so then they're involved in planning that. And if regions or centers have uh, public art policies. So they would get involved in that kind of thing. If somebody has an idea, say you, for example, have something that you want to do and you have an organization, but you're not quite sure how to get the funding or how to do it. One of the things an arts council may do is to um, collaborate on funding grants or to um, have established funding from different municipality leaders or different councils, different cities, so that it can then support cultural endeavors that happen within a community. So there's a lot of broad thinking as to what it does and what an arts council does. I mean, right now we're in year one of our strategic plan. We now have a 3-year strategic plan, and year one is really about rebuilding and restructuring the board. So that is our really first base, and is to build a broad based board. So a board that has representatives across the region. So that is really regional representation, also multi disciplined art representation. Um, it one of the really exciting things that North Simcoe Arts is working on right now is there's been a legacy gift that North Simcoe Arts is now managing. And it's a bursary and it's an arts bursary. So this is actually press release is going to happen on this
Very
week
cool.
because it's coming up. It's going to be released this week, and so there's been a legacy donation to North Simcoe Arts, which North Simcoe Arts is now doing an intake. So it is for anyone who's pursuing an arts post secondary degree. So the applications will open on May 1st, and it'll be 5 $1,000 post secondary bursaries for the next 10 years. So as a minimum, which is really amazing. And so that's been so. North Simcoe Arts has a board member who's sitting on a subcommittee that's managing this. So this is an example of one of the things that North Simcoe Arts does as an arts council.
Right.
Very cool.
So, kind of, I'm trying to wrap my head around what you were saying. Like, the Arts Council doesn't necessarily deal with the public, but it helps the public in that sense by partnering with other organizations to kind of create these programs or create these things, right? And
But yeah, it does. It mostly looks at serving organizations, but not only. I think it's also serving individuals in the following way. So, example, there is there's a woman who lives in Aurelia who said, I want to create an art club, but I don't have any money. I want it to be free. I want to find a way to have space for this. There's limited space for that to happen. So one of the things that North Simcoe Arts has done and is and will continue to do, and of course the easiest route to initial space is to speak to the owner of Creative Nomad Studios. I don't think that it's but it's an example of what they do. So they're looking for that sort of in-kind donation because they're a not-for-profit. They're registered not-for-profit. They are approaching Creative Nomad Studios and saying, "Hey, we what can we negotiate from you either at a fixed rate or free? What would you like to donate?"
Yeah.
For space for cultural events to happen. And what can that look like? And so then, you have this woman who says, I want to hold an art club, right? And I want, So North Simcoe Arts is not doing it. She is. Then what they can do then is say, okay, we have this space. How much space do you need? We want to meet once a month. We want to meet once a week. We want to meet once every other week. This is how much space we have, want, or need, or for how long, and the type of space. So she's coming to North Simcoe Arts to say, help me get this up and running. And what happens? What happens when that runs, is that now she's out there promoting this. She's developing this community-based arts, club, right? And, you know, they're North Simcoe Arts is very hands off. They've got nothing to do with the art club itself. There's some stipulations. Of course, they enter into an agreement, with her to say we can provide you with in-kind space so that you can develop this, so that you can. So it's an example of how it would interact directly with individuals within the community.
Right. Yeah. No,
Mm.
that makes more sense, and I kind of sort of answers the question that I was having, which was like, because it used to be the Aurelia District Arts Council, right? Last year, right? You guys just recently, I can't remember exactly when you guys changed your
November.
branding and your name. November,
Yeah.
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 But with the Aurelia District Arts Council, like you mentioned, they used to run a lot of programs themselves. Like it was people on the board or people, that were members or something, they were running this themselves. And that's the kind of the difference that you want to do with North Simcoe Arts is that you're still supporting the people that want to create something. You're just not like the organization itself is not doing it, is not, actually
Yeah, it's more of an it's not a functional board. So now you don't have a board member who's coming on and actually running a programming. It's overseeing a program. There are two programs that North Simcoe Arts will um, retain um, running. One is a Hearts program,
Mhm.
and they oversee the program. They hire the staff. There is a program manager that they pay for, and they run the grant, and it's a collaborative program. So it's an arts program for seniors, and so they'll hopefully continue to find funding for that and run that program. Um, they do oversee the running of that program. There is another program that they do oversee, and the same program manager they've been able to employ for this second one as well. And it's a collaboration with Georgian College and with United Way and North Simcoe Arts. And it is a mentorship program. It's a mentorship program for mental health. And so there's this collaborative uh, their program manager works with mentors to work with you know people in the community who have mental health struggles, and they use art as a way of connecting. So they're not really teaching them art, but it's a way for uh, them to get out, to learn something new, to some it's almost I went to a presentation about year 1 of this program, and it was interesting to hear it as being described as art as prescription. And so
Mm.
yeah, I know, right? Art as prescription. And so these are people who have, struggle leaving their house or struggle with, and it's not art therapy. And they're just community volunteer. They're not volunteers. Sorry, they're paid. The artists, there's a stipend that they're paid. Um, I know that Jess from Flux Glass, she had a studio here at Creative Nomad Studios. She was a mentor. She had a mentee, and her mentee went on to find support to continue her learning in same class, and to become this thing. There is there's visual art happening, there's photography happening, there is writing happening. So there's all kinds of mentorships. North Simcoe Arts actually homes within Creative Nomad Studios. They have a dedicated space that they home here. And so some of those things happen here. And it's that's a great program, and they will continue to oversee that. And it's one of those things where the difference being that they don't actually, we're not bringing in a volunteer to create a program. So no, we're not looking for programming money for ourselves. But if you as an organization wanted to do a program on, let's say you decided you wanted to run a podcast school something, or something connected to the villager where it was something on publishing or writing or, magazine creating or community creating. You could come to North Simcoe Arts and say, hey, we're looking to build this, and how does this help the community? And that's where North Simcoe Arts would say, how can we help? How do we help support this or develop this? How do we help? In what way? Is there funding that we can collaborate on, or is there space, or is there an in-kind way that we can help? And that's how arts council functions more than and so it's an oversight board more than a functional board.
That's cool. So I guess, you're talking about funding obviously being a big piece because, in the arts industry, any arts industry, that's always the struggle is trying to find the funding. So does North Simcoe Arts then have, um, is it more guidance based? For example, let's say you need to secure a grant for a program that you want to do or run or a workshop. With North Simcoe Arts, would they guide in terms of the grants, as opposed, or would they apply for the grants on your behalf?
They could.
Really?
They could, and absolutely. So, the short term, there's of course a 3-year strategic plan. So number one, right now, I mean, we're currently looking for some of our own seed money to keep developing and to keep growing, to actually um, fund some actual staff. So there's some funding goals that the organization has itself. But then yes, so if you were um, you know, needing grant assistance, needing a letter of support, or needing a co-author on a grant sometimes, and that's kind of one of the big pieces, right? Where um, Canada Arts Council will look at grants that people put in. And if you're putting it in on your own, right, or Trillium or any of those, it's much different than if an arts council backs you and finds additional letters of support. And you say, well, this is how it benefits the community. This is how it benefits the region. This is how this program becomes over here, right? A better thing. So it's the ability to do that that
Mhm.
sometimes makes the difference. And that's where, co-authoring a grant with, say, another organization is also very powerful. When you can say that, you know, one of the things that short-term slash long-term goals North Simcoe Arts is to take the Hearts program, which is the seniors program, the seniors arts program, and actually build it into a franchise model so that it is just, here's the program, we oversight it. We have this person who will come into your region and train it. But here's all the materials. This is how you run it. This is the funding. This is the everything that's needed, and to build this out regionally. So it's going, there is a HARDS program in Rama that is very region specific, right? Because it Aurelia has different needs than Rama, than Midland, than Coldwater, and they have different focuses, and their seniors have different focuses. The region has similarities, but also when you look at, it's like saying that the three of us are all people, but we're all very different,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right? So it's doing that. It's looking at it from that perspective.
Okay.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So I sorry, I'm just like I'm on the because I know I'm sure in terms of even as we spoke about individuals who would be interested in maybe wanting to start something or looking for that support. Is North Simcoe Arts? You mentioned it being in year one in terms of just getting your foundation set so that you can support. Um, would it be open to people approaching them at this point with different
Absolutely.
things? Okay.
Absolutely. People can here's the thing, is we have a long way to go, right? We are
Mm.
literally year 1 of what is a 3-year plan, which will be really, I think, a 5-year plan. And year 1 is where we're in the infancy of the strategic plan, right? There's so much to do. There's so much growth for the board to have, and that's really there's a lot of internal structure that's happening. So, I don't it's kind of like when you start a it's like you're starting a new company. You have to create all the systems and how things work and the descriptions and the roles and the responsibilities. Those all of those things are the background things that people don't see but are needed in order for things to function really well. And in order for you to onboard um, people really well. Because most people who join a board, they're well-meaning individuals. In fact, I mean, people who serve on boards are amazing. They really are. My hat goes off to them all day long. But there's not always a requisite knowledge that comes with what is my role? Like, what is my job? Like, what does my job entail? Because when you do step onto a board of directors, you have a job. And, it isn't just to show up and have coffee once a month with some really awesome, nice people. There is actually a job. So it's building that out and building out the structure so that everything is running in the background really well. And, that's really where the board is at. But does that mean that if you have an idea that you can't come? I mean, that we will as individuals, whether we will try to find a way to help you right now in whatever capacity we can.
Yeah, I love that. It's
No.
nice to know that that support's there, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, exactly. And a question that's been kind of running because we've been kind of talking about it, but not really talking about it fully, which is the strategic plan that you created. You said like it's a 3-year plan. So talk to me about what is or potentially 5 years. So what is the North Simcoe Arts, I guess, journey from year 1 to year 5 right now? We've talked about strategy, structuring. Yeah, but like what is the goal? What is it looking to achieve?
So the big, hairy, audacious goal is number one, to build some internal stability. All right. And number two is to collectively um, start to build some glue throughout the region. If you look at arts in Ontario, for example, when you think about regions that have really strong sort of art focuses, Stratford has theater and it's beautiful. Everybody goes Stratford. When you say the word Stratford, you think theater, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
And when you think Niagara on the Lake, what do you think? Theater.
Wine.
Wine. Wine, sure. Wine. But theater art, there's a whole thing that happens in there. Toronto has some really cool individual things happening culturally, music. It's got all the things sort of happening within it. If you go east of Toronto, you have Prince Edward County has done this really great thing, right? And they've really picked up what arts is over there. And then we have this really great arts region up in Collingwood, right? But there's this whole naked band in the middle that great little pops of things, but nothing cohesive. So it's building cohesiveness so that when people go, oh, this region, right? What is this region? Oh, you gotta go there, right? Oh, yeah, there's like, you gotta go there for the music. What do we have going on? We've just had Mariposa Folk Festival in Aurelia, and then in the summertime, there's gonna be or sorry, we just had Roots North, and now there's doing Mariposa Folk, because people know Aurelia from Mariposa Folk. We have the Opera House in Aurelia. That's Aurelia. But then step out of Aurelia, you have Georgian Bay Theatre, you have Quest Art in Midland, you have things going on in Coldwater. There was a steampunk festival, but what can happen regionally? And then there's this little piece that gets left out all the time, which I think collectively I would love to see it be a regional focus, is the power of arts in Rama is such an under collaborated piece of what
Absolutely.
happens artistically in the region. And yet there's such a depth and a story there. So it's really, where does it go? And it's to bring all of that together in a way that's so noticeable that when you hear Prince Edward County and you know that Prince Edward County is like the arts tour and this and that, and when you say Stratford, it's theater. So when you say North Simcoe, people go, oh, that's this.
Known for this.
Mhm.
Interesting.
That's all these things. So it's giving a collaborative umbrella to all these things.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. And it's funny because we talk about this all the time,
Mhm.
but how much how much art there is around this area.
So much talent.
So much talent. There's so many people that
So crazy. It's so crazy. It's how much visual art, it's how much theater art, it's how much photography. There is so we have such a crazy talented region.
Mhm.
Like crazy talented. It's
And-
amazing to me.
yeah.
I sit here, um I get to see it in Creative Nomad, just a small piece of it in this region, the music that comes in here for some concerts, and the dance, and you know, the the things that happen, the kids. We have this little, kids multidisciplined theater group that or it's music, dance, and they are here every Saturday morning, right? And it's these little kids, and they have a performance coming up, and it's neat. It's neat to see all of it, and that's just one tiny little piece of what happens in
We're
this
just,
region.
thinking about being able to, I guess, collaborate and kind of put all this talent,
Mhm.
right, just together, right? Sounds like, it would be, I think it'd be pretty cool.
Oh, it'd
Like
be incredible.
it'd be incredible, right? To be able
Yeah.
to kind of somehow make everything fit into one category or to one thing that kind of makes it, we become known for something. I think that's
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah, it's fitting it into a one and category. It's fitting it into one region and starting to speak about it as a regional culture.
Yeah.
Because cultural tourism again is a huge thing. Cultural tourism accounts for so much of the money that comes into a community. And, this region specifically relies heavily on tourism already. But when you add cultural tourism, people actually spend more money when they arrive to spend money for cultural tourism. They spend more money. They specifically per person, statistically, and it's a proven fact. So when you can add culture, also when you have proven depth of culture within a community, and you are a company operating within that community. There's an interesting statistic that I ran across in doing the strategic plan of this, and it's that people are more likely to choose a job in a location if that location has um, strong culture, so a strong cultural presence. So it's more attractive. So it's making your communities more attractive. It's making them more vibrant. It's making them more interesting places to live. And isn't that all what we want, right? It
Mhm.
This whole idea of how do you support all the facets of what is culture?
Yeah.
Like what
Yeah.
is culture? And culture is everything. Culture is that entertainment is what we are doing in this moment. It's entertainment, it's education, um, but it's it's also creation in whatever form, right? Whatever form you take. So there's a there's an idea that a arts council as an umbrella to this can start off first by saying, if you're coming to this region, here's all the things that are happening. So there's one thing that is happening. Arts Aurelia is currently has a grant to build a cultural calendar. This was spoken about over and over and over and over and over and over again. So their mandate is to specifically build one for Aurelia. And then we will possibly collaborate with them and to extend that to be a regional cultural calendar. So if you were coming anywhere to the region, you'd be able to go to one place and say, wow, these are all the things that are happening, much like you have in your um, magazine. I think you have a section where what's going on or what's
Yeah, the events section.
yeah, the events section. So there would be a place for people to be able to put that on, but it would be only about cultural events. So it's not where you're trying to find it or dig it out of, hey, what's happening off the city's website or that specific city's website. It's what's happening in the region. So if you happen to be visiting, say, Aurelia, there's things happening in Rama. Rama's not very far. There's things happening in Coldwater. If you happen to be staying in or heading to Midland, there's this happening over here. So there's all of this kind of ability to promote more regionally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it too is just speaking to just people moving to the area, what you were saying there. I think culture creates that sense of belonging as well, that connection between people. So if you're someone who enjoys theater, if you're someone who enjoys photography, you can find those like-minded people
Yeah.
and that,
Yeah.
Find your crowd.
yeah, find your people.
Find your people. But I mean, the whole idea of an arts council is to support those connections and to support those collaborations and to support people to do cultural endeavors, whatever that may be. So if people are thinking, well, I wanted to do this, but it doesn't sound important enough. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. A culture and an arts council is meant to um, assist the development of things. Even if one of those things, it might be connecting people. So it might just be that they have information. Recently, an organization came to us and said, we have money. We want to develop an arts program here. Is this something you do? We said, well, no, we don't specifically do that. We wouldn't run that for you, but here's a connection. Here's how it can happen, right? So sometimes it's just connecting people
Mhm.
because you have information. And so that's really, it's about building the bridges, about, sometimes the bridge is money. My big, hairy, audacious goal for North Simcoe Arts is, and I come at this from two places because I am a business owner who gets asked for money weekly or asked for a donation or asked for something like quite often. And that is to have a donor, a sponsor database. So I personally, as a business owner, I mean, I would love to be able to just say, I have an in kind donation that is this. I have money that is this. I give that to North Simcoe Arts. They give me a charitable receipt. They dole it out to whoever needs the money. Because if I $50 it out at a time, I'm still giving the money out, but I'm not getting anything back as a business owner and as an individual. I'm not getting that charitable receipt. I'm not getting any of that back. But if I'm actually contributing it to a charitable organization that's then, as a not for profit that's managing it, that that actually is much more beneficial to me. Plus, um, I know that if my $100 can be combined with somebody else's 100 and somebody else's 100 and somebody else's 100, suddenly, that actually becomes something meaningful.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So there's a way to sort of, you know, create this sponsor database. And that's a bit of a personal thing for me. Um, I originally came onto North Simcoe Arts to do the strategic plan and the financial strategy. Um, I'm kind of now in it I'm not on the board. I'm still a consultant. I'm a volunteer consultant at this point in time because I have agreed to sort of make sure that they can implement the strategic plan, which is great. Um, but I have my own personal goals within it. So,
Yeah, that's cool. How can, the people listening help North Simcoe Arts, I guess, moving forward?
well, if you're interested in arts and culture, period. So, first of all, I mean, you can be involved in um, as much as little as you want to be. I love that. There's, for example, there's this bursary committee now, right? We have um we have an arts university student who zooms into the meetings from Montreal. I love it. Yeah, I know. And she has great contribution. She gives great contribution. Her name is Brooke. And so, there's subcommittees. There's if you have an interest in a specific discipline, put up your hand and say, "Hey, I love music. I love being involved in, you know, this. I want to do something." Or I have money, definitely. You could definitely donate to North Simcoe Arts. Um, they will use that money to further one of the programs that they oversee, such as the Hearts program, such as the mentorship program that is funded mostly by United Way, but also other organizations that are coming to say, hey, I am trying to do this, but this is what I need. So if you are interested in being on the board, and you're part of the North Central Arts region, we are looking for regional directors at this moment. Um, we have a couple of specific positions that are still open. We are looking for a treasurer. So, hey, you know, um, so the board is still developing. So I mean, if somebody's interested in being in the board, I encourage you to reach out via email and apply either to info@northsimcoearts.ca, which is the best sort of way to apply, or just put up your hand and say, "I'm interested. Can you send me the job description?" Because we will
Mhm.
definitely do that.
Yeah, and where can people find more information that North Simcoe Arts is doing, right? Social media, website?
So on social media, at North Simcoe Arts on Instagram or on Facebook, if you're still using Facebook, those are the two. I know those are two great places. Our website is under development at this moment in time because so there's a landing page there, but you can check back. Um, Definitely email. But for now, jump onto social media, what's happening, what we're doing. If you want to get involved, the mentorship program is looking for mentors all the time, and you get trained. You come in, you get paid, you get trained for that. Mentorship program is amazing. So if you're somebody who is a musician or a writer or um, a visual artist or a photographer, I encourage you to reach out to see if there's when the next intake for that is. So there's a lot of ways to be involved.
Yeah, that's
That's
pretty
great.
neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. With that, I think that answers all of my questions. Do you have anything else?
Nothing off the top of my mind. How about you?
Nothing else. Okay, well, awesome.
Is there anything that we might have missed that you wanted to talk about, perhaps?
I don't think so. I think we said it. I think it was great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing. I know that North Central Arts has had a relationship with the Villager magazine, which is also really cool. You've been doing features on the variety of artists. So we're looking to take that regionally this year. So I understand that
Great.
that's going to continue. So that'll
Yeah.
be exciting. I know that it's mostly been artists from Aurelia, but we'll be looking to kind of move that more regionally or
Yeah.
maybe offer up to regional artists, which will be exciting.
Yeah. I think that'd be really cool.
Very
Yeah.
exciting. Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that. All right. Well, thank you very much, Anita, for being part of our podcast and talking to us about North Simcoe Arts.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was great to do this. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the entire episode. All the links and info you heard in this conversation will be featured in the show notes on our website, villagermagazine.ca/podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, consider subscribing to our channels like YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you're listening from so you never miss an episode. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.